In today's video, I'll have a closer look at the latest offering from Daiwa, and that's a Caldia 2025. As you can see, the reel itself looks pretty slick, right? But before going any further, I will mention a couple of things. One, this video is not sponsored at all since I paid for this reel out of my own pocket. Actually, I purchased a couple of these reels for my own fishing. And two, I will leave a link below where I obtained this reel, and it was the cheapest I was able to obtain it online. Anyway, let's have a closer look at the reel itself. For my taste, I like the looks a lot. Basically, it has no colors, as in it's gray, kind of dark gray, gunmetal gray, and slightly lighter gray. So dark gray spool, this mag sealed bit under the rotor, monocoque engine drive, I believe it's called. It's kind of dark gray handle, and the rest is kind of lighter gray. So yeah, for my taste, I like the looks a lot. It looks pretty slick. So I guess let's have a closer look at all the moving parts before, talking about what's new. So I will start with the knob. It's kind of old and rusty shape. It's kind of covered with anti-slip material like a rubber, and this bigger one here, this kind of T-type knob, again covered in this non-slippery material. Yeah, let's have a look if there is any movement. There is light one, so maybe it's slightly above average. It spins alright, but I've seen reels from even from China that has less slop in here. But again, I've seen other Daivas and Shimano that would have way more slop in here. So yeah, maybe slightly above average. Then let's have a closer look at main gear. And usually, what I like about monocoque reels, the tolerances in the gears are, very, very tight. So no slop. Anyway, let's check this one out too. So now I will look for that in and out, movement that, when you are turning the handle, you can feel it if, there is any or kind of decent one or big one. So anyway, I'm just holding on to the rotor, and I will try to pull the handle out and then push it in. No, it's solid as expected. Actually, maybe there is a slight one. I mean, it's classic Daiwa, but it's better than most Shimanos and, cheaper reels as well. And now I will look for that rotational wobble, so I'll grab onto the rotor again, and we'll try, just to kind of, we'll make sure it's tight. Again, solid. So yeah, this is what I like about monocoque, the gears are assembled very, very tight. Okay, let's move on. Now the bail arm. I will talk about it a little bit later, but now just have a look. Let's have a look how it's actually quite solid. If I would compare to like previous generation, which I will do a little bit later, this is good, but not as good as before. And surprise, surprise, Daiwa added crack sound. Again, but I will come to that later. Now the spool. Actually, spool moves a little bit less than average, so it's good. And also another improvement, drag. Again, I will come to that a little bit later, but... And now this air rotor. It's bending. I believe this one has nylon or Zion, which is nylon and maybe a little bit of carbon, but yeah, I can flex it a little bit, so. Let's see that previous one. Previous one was steadier for sure, but again, this is way lighter, So yeah, all in all, let's check the roller as well really quickly. Just mark on the roller itself. so I would be able to see, you know, if it's moving or not. And then I will grab some braided line and we'll pull through, and then we will know, you know, if it's working and how much kind of force I need here. It's rotating. Yeah, it's all right. And I believe it doesn't have a bearing in here, which is this will be one of the reasons why I bought this reel for my light salt fishing application, since it doesn't have a bearing here. That would go wrong quickly. Yeah, I hope you can see on the camera, you know, that it does rotate. Okay, all good here. And now, you know, kind of let's talk about this area, or about, you know, top of the reel, because bottom of the reel actually it's not, you know, that much different from, you know, like, let's say previous generations of Daiwa monocoque reels, but top of the reel, like this part is rebuilt, and it has, you know, features that Shimano guys will like a lot. So I talked about it a little bit already. So Daiwa introduced this crack sound. It's not as pronounced as on most Shimano reels, but definitely they added it on purpose. And also you'll notice that the bail arm also is thinner than, you know, on previous Daiwa reels. So for example, I can quickly measure it. So on most Daiwas, it was like 3 mils, and it's hollow as well. And usually you can see this kind of part where this hollow tube joins the line roller block, if you will. In here, I believe it's like one piece. I mean, I can't see any joints here. Maybe they welded, you know, and then polished. I just do not know, but it feels like it's, you know, solid metal. Again, from physics, you know, when you have a tube feels more rigid, you know, just feels more rigid, and also it's lighter. But again, they reduce diameter here, and it's not sloppy, you know, but it feels better than Shimano's for sure. Anyway, let's see what the numbers would say. So 2.2 somewhere there. Yeah, about 2.2. So yeah, Shimano probably will be like 1.5, something like that. As I say, feels better than Shimano, but not as good as on previous Daivas, you know. And also you will see that rotor, kind of, you won't be able to get into the rotor and, you know, kind of oil it or something from outside. Basically at this reel, only visible screw actually this one. And yeah, no like visible screws on the rotor itself. And yeah, to access the rotor or to remove the bail arm, you will need to remove the rotor from the reel itself. So yeah, I mean, it looks cool. And interestingly, let's actually remove the spool. What they did here, I was surprised. So you will see there is a screw here, right? And here it's not a screw, it's actually like a washer fitting, like tight washer fitting, like clip-on, if you will. So if you would have a tube, this kind of a shape of a washer, it just goes above and then clicks in place, you know, and then it can't go anywhere, because there will be like a groove, you know, it just clips on, and that's it. So, and definitely I can feel, you know, difference, because these screws, you see, they are screwed into the blocks themselves. I mean, this screw and this clip-on washer, I believe you can call it. And when I undo the bail arm, I can only almost feel, you know, like springs resistance, because kind of surface area of the screws touching the plastic will be like very, very small. Anyway, it just feels, you know, that only I'm going against the spring, which is kind of cool. Yeah, and also I believe another reason why they, you know, did hide all those screws, you know, let's say on this Daiwa, if you think about it, screw, like kind of head of the screw is kind of a lot from the center of the rotor itself, meaning, you know, that inertia when you start spinning it would be greater, you know, because more weight will be kind of further away from the center of the rotation, if you will. In here, you know, those heads are kind of closer to the center, which to my understanding, you know, will mean that inertia will be lower, and I can feel, you know, there is a difference for sure. And I got here actually 6.2, no, this one is 5.8 to 1 gear ratio, so high speed reel, if you will. So also you will notice another thing, probably you won't notice, but I can tell you or explain. Basically, this spring is beefed up compared to, let's say, previous generation of LT reels. It was actually quite sloppy. So yeah, I can feel like right away that on this Salamandura and on all, you know, previous or most previous LT reels, this spring was quite, you know, quite weak. In here, it's way stronger. And also they changed the design of the tooth in here in the spool. I can actually draw for you how it looks like. So if I will draw the internal kind of bit of the spool where the drag goes into, so this bit, so it's now round, and then they would just have little grooves like that on the older ones. On this new one, right, let's take it off, so maybe you'll be able to see something, which I doubt, but I will draw it for you. So let's put it, this one here, maybe here, yeah, just like that. And this new one, again circle, but kind of grooves just goes like that. Again, it might not look like a big difference, you know, but you know, this is smoother and just feels way better. Just feels way better on this new Caldia. Drag is definitely better. It's louder and better on at least on this Caldia, and I believe, you know, that it will apply to all newer Daiwa reels, which is, you know, a great and big deal, because I always said that on kind of bad drag performance, especially on bigger Daiwa LT reels, like let's say 2500, 3000, and you know 4000, where they had like 3 sets of felt washers, drag was very, very sloppy. Now it's better, and you can actually hear it. So now let's say that's an average LT reel from a previous generation. Listen for it. And now this newer one. So yeah, fantastic news. They definitely fixed this area. So yeah, it sounds like Shimano, just maybe even better. It's not like, you know, as clicky as Shimano, it just feels very, very refined and really nice sounding drag. And on this 3000 size, I mean, it's the same story. Sounds more or less exactly the same. Which is, again, good news, and as I say, these new Caldias will, you know, please, I believe, current Daiwa fans, you know, because it has monocoque and drag, which is now really perfect, probably, I don't know, 9.5 out of 10 or something like that. So yeah, really good job, Daiwa, well done. One area which I'm not, you know, too pleased about is this kind of bail arm that is a little bit thinner. I mean, I still prefer it to Shimano's a lot, but it's not as much as I used to like the older one. but I will get over it. But to get rid of this click actually will be not an easy task, because I don't even know how it looks like inside, even though I figured out how to remove, you know, all of these cracking sounds from any reel. Like on Shimano's, it was just, on newer Shimano's, you just remove a little spring with a little PTFE bushing and you are done. On like other ones, I used some glue, you know, just to reduce a hole where pin on the spring would go into. In this one, just to get inside, it will be a trouble, as I mentioned. See, to access this screw that hold this place, I will need to remove the rotor itself from the reel, because see, there is a hole to access this screw that, well, the screw that is here and holding this plate. So yeah, and there is another hole. So basically with a long screwdriver, you just go through the center of it once the rotor is off the reel. Other than that, you know, this reel is kind of well sealed. Seal here. I hope you can see seal here. Also, it's mag sealed. And I believe, yes, there is a silicone rubber gasket here too, so it's quite well sealed. Again, I wasn't able to remove this plate because, you know, I can remove the screw, yes, but to access the other one that is just here, I need to remove the rotor as well. So I mean, they do not want you to get inside of the reel like at all. They want, you know, to this reel or these Caldia reels to get serviced by, you know, by professionals, which is, you know, a fair play. In most cases, you know, professionals will always do, you know, a better job than you can do yourself, you know, especially when this reel has, you know, Torx screws, this little clip-on washer, you know, that you need very fine flat screwdriver or special tool to remove it. And I mean, as I say, if you have the tools and you've done it before, it's not, you know, a big deal. You just remove all this block, remove seal, another screw, the screw or bolt, nut that is, and yeah, rotor can be removed, and then you can do all sorts of things. But yeah, just a lot of hoops to jump over if you want to, you know, to have a look anywhere except, you know, the spool removal. But, you know, having all those screws hidden, it's kind of cool, you know. I don't mind that. It looks cool. It looks nice and clean, you know. And when it comes to kind of smoothness and startup energy needed, it's pretty good actually. And mind you, as I mentioned, I have high-speed reels here. This 2000 size is 5.8 to 1, and this bigger one is 6.2 to 1. But it does not feel, you know, like a high-speed reel at all. I mean, this especially 3000 size, the startup energy is really, really low. I mean, energy needed just to get the rotor spinning, it's very, very low. And I believe this will be to do with this air or rotor. And the smoothness, again, I could not believe, you know, how smooth those reels are, even though they are, you know, as they say, high speed. Usually when you get a high speed reel, the startup energy won't be as good, and the reel might be smooth, but, you know, it's not necessarily usual. You know, when you have the same reel in a slower gear ratio, it will feel just better, just smoother, and startup energy will be lower. These Caldias are really good, you know, even though, as they say, they are high-speed versions, especially this 3000. The smaller one is okay too. I mean, startup energy is good. Maybe it's slightly less smooth than the bigger one. But yeah, well impressed with that. Now I guess let's quickly take the weight of these reels. So 2000 size, 166 grams, which is great. And bigger one, 193. I'm thinking this one will be more. I kind of hope that it will be more, but just to match, you know, with longer sea fishing rods. But oh well, it is what it is. Yeah, 168 and 193 still. So yeah, flipping light reels, and that do look, you know, amazing and do perform amazing by the looks of it. And I will be testing them out soon, hopefully catching some fish. Yeah, and pretty certain if you know, liked only Shimano reels, you will like these new Caldias, or, you know, new Daiwa reels that do have this Airdrive design rotor, because, you know, it has crack sound that a lot of people, you know, Shimano people like it a lot. And it has, you know, smaller diameter wire for the bail arm. Again, for me personally, that's not a bonus, but for Shimano people, it will be a bonus. It will be an upgrade actually, because it's sturdier, but still, you know, not the thickest Daiwa, and I believe this will be solid. So a lot of, you know, Shimano people were saying solids are kind of sturdier, which is not the case. For the diameter, tube is always, you know, feels sturdier. Yeah, you will like this one. And oh, another thing that Shimano people used to say, if you bend solid wire, you can kind of straighten it out. That is true. Actually, you won't be able to straighten out the tube, but you will be able to straighten out the, you know, wire, which not likely would happen compared to Shimano's because it's thicker. And also very, very big improvement, I would say biggest improvement on this Daiwa Caldia will be the drag, for sure. For sure, the biggest improvement in my opinion. Yes, Airdrive rotor is nice, you know. I believe it rotation feels a little bit better, but drag will be by far the biggest improvement. And as I mentioned, if you are interested in checking those reels out, have a look at those links in the description below. As I say, time will tell, but initial look confirms, you know, that those are solid and well-built reels, and I can easily recommend them. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and over and out.